Well, hello and welcome to The Point. It's amazing to be here. You are in for one heck of a treat. This is 2024 and everyone I know is full swing into their goals, whether or not they were moving really diligently into the new year and closing out last year, or if they just were picking it up when the new year started and running at it with affirmations and with New Year's resolutions. If you're one of those people that is in full swing, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're in the right place. Because what you're going to learn here is, today specifically, is a couple of really key values and ways of thinking about life and about self-honesty that will really protect your gains. All the gains that you make in the beginning of this year, you will have yourself fully set up and ready to go. So here's what we're talking about. There's a proverb that I've heard most of my life, and it's, the axe forgets, the tree remembers. So if you consider for a minute what that means, you could take that to say that somebody who offends forgets, and somebody who's offended remembers. Now, there's also a lot of verbiage out there. You've probably heard people say, hurt people hurt people. And sure, but here's what the Proverb's about for this application and for what we're talking about today and what you're going to really be able to consider today. And what we're really looking at today is this idea that looking at our behavior in a complete vacuum, completely separate from any situations or surroundings or things that you may believe caused you to have that behavior. So look at your behavior as only your behavior. I opened a new pack of gum, took out a piece of gum and put it in my mouth and chewed it. So now I'm chewing gum. Nothing to judge about the behavior of chewing gum, right? Now, the point of that is that just think about chewing gum without thinking and evaluate that on its own merit. Is it okay for me to chew gum? Think of that absent from the idea that I might have bad breath, or I'm going to be around a lot of people soon, and so I want to make sure I don't have bad breath. So we're not going to, or even I want to freshen my mouth. I got a bad taste in my mouth or anything. So we're just looking at the idea that we put a piece of gum in our mouth. That's the behavior, right? So take the behavior of how we talk to people in our lives. Take behaviors around how we give ourselves nutrition, how we eat, how we train or exercise, or do we walk, do we run, do we ride a bicycle, do we sit on the couch all the time? It's what is happening in your life. What behavior do you want to look at that you'd value looking at from, absent from all of those things? And I'm telling you, it's any behavior, and it works, because if they're less than desirable behaviors, it's really easy to justify and rationalize if we include all of that other outside information. There's no reason to evaluate whether or not we're happy with and we're satisfied with our behavior. So what do you gain by looking at your behaviors from that isolated view as if it were all in a vacuum? One of the things that you gain is the ability to access forgiveness differently. You can access forgiveness on an entirely different platform if all you're doing is evaluating your own behavior. Another thing that you can do is you can truly determine whether or not that's how you want to be showing up in the world, regardless of the circumstances. Right? It's somebody, if you're the type of person that's always really nice to everybody, and you're working on being more firm in some of your statements and more exact and direct in things that you want, then that's important. And it's important then to look at, is all of this nice? So what are the environments? What are the behaviors where that's not who I want to be? Get rid of all the other ideas about what people are doing and just look at your own behavior. Is that behavior that's acceptable for me based on what I want in my life? Because it's important to put yourself first if you're ever going to be fully of benefit to others. Right? That's that miss in the understanding of selfishness, right? We think that, I'm giving all the time. And sometimes giving can be the most selfish thing, right? So when we think about this, I took a bunch of notes and I'm just not going to run with them. The idea here is to get honest enough with ourselves so that we can use behaviors to evaluate if we're showing up in the right values, and then focus on changing our values. Because if we reverse that and focus on, if you're consistently worried about changing your behaviors, then you're having to turn back around, and it's a rabbit trail that doesn't always work, right? So, but if we focus on the values, then it works. If you're able to dial in what you want, how you want to show up, then you can show up in those values. But the behaviors are no longer something you're trying to shift all the time. The behaviors are how you're evaluating your ability to live within your values. Completely flips it upside down. So the benefit here is that if you're making lots of ground on reaching goals and getting partway there, and you're on the road to success with New Year's resolutions or just with the new things that you're working towards in your life today, it becomes really important to make sure that we're protecting ourselves from running out of steam or giving up. The numbers on who gives up on New Year's resolutions is staggering. There's more people giving up on New Year's resolutions that are following through. You can protect your ability to follow through with this technique of really evaluating yourself in that vacuum and then determining, getting honest, right? Now, there's a couple of key elements I want you to make sure that you're being clear on. One is love yourself in this behavior, in this strategy. Because if you're not loving yourself, there's a tendency to beat yourself up if you don't think you're doing things the way you'd like. This is not an opportunity to shame and to beat yourself up and to just talk negatively. This is not that opportunity. This is an opportunity to put those things in the rearview mirror, because that's not who we want to be. That doesn't make the statement of who we are. So reel that in, throw it, so we can throw stuff in the rearview mirror and start with that self-love so that you're not being judgmental and mean, right? You can guarantee that people are treating you the way they treat themselves, and you're treating others the way you treat yourself. Our talk to others is often very similar to our own self-talk. So a difference in that is when we're beginning to make a significant change and we're turning something around, one may be different than the other for a minute until we can realign and get things automated to a place where that's really how we're doing things. The main thing is that in the next few weeks, you're going to start hearing more about why dig deeper into your actual strengths, into the nuances and the idiosyncrasies and the small bites and bits about who you are and what your true giftings are. And the reason is that this is how we're really going to move forward and protect. And the foundation for really digging into strengths is being able to look at yourself as honestly as possible. And sometimes that can be a little that can shake us at the core. You could feel, you may have already felt some type of, if you have justified behaviors that you'd rather not be doing, that can shake us a little bit. Relax and breathe through that. Become the observer of what you're feeling, what's going on in and around you, and breathe through that, and it's going to be okay. In the next few weeks, you're going to start hearing me talk a lot more about the details around how to find your strengths organically, how to use assessments, and how to do other things, and how Tip of the Sword can help you do that. But really, we're going to try to open up some doors for thought and discovery and contemplation that can propel you forward, regardless of the place you're in life and the level that you're in and wanting to change or wanting to do something different. And because that is really going to protect your gains that you're making in this year and drive it home through the rest of the year and make it more easy and effortless and fun to accomplish anything you want to do. So cheers to a short podcast, the first real podcast of 2024 for The Point. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. Please continue. I'm so grateful to get instant messaging, and you guys are reaching out and asking questions, and I couldn't be happier. Helping people find their superpower. If you want to find your superpower, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. So Happy New Year, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. The greatest compliment you could give me is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all your friends. So please, if you're on Spotify, iHeart, or iTunes, leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Make sure to tag me. I love hearing from you, the listeners of this show. The links for all my social and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage with me in anything related to my coaching, consulting, speaking, or programs, please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.